If you're feeling a sharp pain right now, the answer is simple. You're too close to the edge. The swords aren't the edgiest thing currently here. If you thought Shadow vs Sasuke was edgy, you have no idea how edgy the edge can go. However, maybe tonight we can answer that. Maybe we can find out who actually has the edge in this episode of Rewind Rumble. Since Sasuke is pretty much the Sans of this series at this point, I'm going to make all mentions of him null and void for the pre-analysis. There really isn't much more we could learn. If you want to learn more about Sasuke, check out Sasuke vs Shadow, Sasuke vs Zoro, Sasuke vs Strider, Sasuke vs Zoro again, and Sasuke vs Zuko. There's a lot of different places you can learn about Sasuke. Today, let's mainly focus on Noctis. Noctis Lucis Calum was born into royalty. He was son of the king, King Regis, who was king of Lucis. Lucis was a land that was constantly under attack by the love child of stormtroopers and robot Nazis. To be politically correct, they were constantly under attack by the Empire of Niflheim. If you're wondering why the Niflheim Empire constantly tried to invade Lucis, well, the answer is simple. Their kingdom was home to the Sacred Crystal, and when you have a small country with valuable resources, bigger countries want to take your resources for obvious yet immoral reasons. King Regis was always put into a hard place due to constant attack, and he was voiced by Sean Bean, so we all know what happens to him by the end of the plot. And of course, if your dad is king, that makes you crown prince, but Noctis wasn't really raised like a prince. At the age of 5 years old, his father was aware of an ancient prophecy that entitled his son to saving the world, which sounds cool and all, but then he finds out in order for Noctis to save the world, he would have to sacrifice himself. Regis did not want to lose his son, especially not like that, so instead of raising him as a prince, Noctis was raised as a commoner. Commoner in massive air quotes. He still lived pretty wealthy. Plus, the whole operation was a challenge and arguably a fail. This was not as easy as it sounds, and it didn't really work, since Noctis deals with a lot of emotional turmoil as his mother died when he was young, and his father had to constantly cater to the demands of the kingdom, leaving Noctis feeling alone growing up. Spoiler alert, but depending on which ending you reach, and keep in mind this is an RPG, Noctis does indeed eventually fulfill the prophecy and sacrifice himself so he can save the universe and bring light back into the dark world. But let's rewind a bit so we can talk about Noctis during his time alive and his powers/abilities. Since Noctis is of royal blood, he is granted special abilities that is exclusive to royalty, starting with his iconic Ring of Lucii. This is a sacred ring that represents the power of the past Lucian kings. While wearing the ring, the user is granted powerful magic at the price of draining their total life energy while in use. The ring has three main magic types: Death, Holy, and Alterna. Death drains the life of its target, in return healing Noctis himself. Holy is a beam range attack that blasts holy energy onto its enemies. Alterna forms a mini black hole that sucks and warps its targets in a surrounding area and essentially sends them into another dimension. Noctis also has access to his own pocket dimension known as the Power of Kings. This allows him to summon any of the king's previous weapons at will, as well as the ability to wield royal arms. There are a ton of super self-explanatory abilities and weapons that this grants him, such as a warping ability that allows him to teleport where he throws his weapon, a phase ability that grants him ghost-like intangibility, and of course plenty of element-based range attacks such as fire, blizzard, and thunder. He can also freeze time, heal himself, and increase his physical statistics. Noctis is extremely skilled and experienced with his weaponry and magic. He has been in combat training since childhood and has mastered every single weapon in his possession. As for weaknesses, Noctis has a limited pool of magic points to use for his attacks. His Ring of Lucii drains his own life force in the long term in order for him to use it, and he must be pressed hard to summon the Astrals. Who are the Astrals? Well, they're a group of 6 individual godlike beings whom Noctis can summon and deal critical blows towards his enemies.
This battle will take place on Earth, and remember, there is no prep time.
Once that circumstance bar has finally loaded, it's time to rewind Rumble.
Hopefully you enjoyed that animation, and if you did, super special thanks to Elchinaman YT. I'd also like to thank Corono Keefe and Chaos Theory 123 for providing research and notes for the post-analysis. Thanks, and enjoy the post-analysis. The winner is Noctis, and boy oh boy do I have a lot of explaining to do, and since Sasuke is dead, hopefully he can stay dead for a long time. He's been on this channel far too much, and it's time he gets a nice long break in the afterlife. And now to drop some jaw-dropping hot takes. Sasuke has better stats in all categories, yet still loses.
What?
I know it sounds crazy that someone like Sasuke, who is large moon / small planet level in both durability and attack potency, can scale to having FTL reactions and MHS travel speeds, loses to a character like Noctis, who only has multi-continent level durability and attack potency, whom scales to Titan catching a large meteor, and has massively hypersonic travel speeds, being faster than electric-based attacks. It sounds clear as day that Sasuke should be able to outlast Noctis, since his durability at his best is at least 10 times greater and has an overall stat advantage, which he does have. But here's the problem. Due to Noctis' arsenal and fighting style, his hacks and ability to win via battlefield removal will supersede any stat advantage Sasuke possesses. Noctis can intangibly protect himself and phase through nearly any attack Sasuke throws at him, and while his MP isn't infinite, it's clearly long enough for Noctis to use his Ring of Lucii to open a portal to Alterna, banishing Sasuke there. Both characters could technically teleport, but Noctis is so much more efficient. After so many trials, Sasuke is going to need a long period recharge. Noctis can also slow down time, which to an extent won't be too much of a problem since Sasuke is so much faster, but with the slow time, the gap will be smaller to a rate where Noctis is at least in sparring range with Sasuke. Noctis can also use the death move to drain Sasuke's powers and use it to improve his own ability, and while it will greatly shorten Noctis' long-term life, for the short term he will have a great energy boost while at the same time draining Sasuke's overall stats and powers. A lot of these tidbits might be small in comparison to the win via battlefield removal, aka BFR, but they all hold key parts in Noctis eventually banishing Sasuke to Alterna. Now this won't be an easy battle. Sasuke only needs one good planet level attack to wipe Noctis' multi-continent level durability off the map and turn him into worm food. So it is entirely possible that Sasuke gets lucky and one-shots Noctis with a super strong critical hit. But if we assume that no luck gets involved into this fight and put each character into a simulation where they're at their absolute best, Noctis has a better long-term plan that leads to victory via battlefield removal. First, Noctis would use his phase move to be completely intangible to any of Sasuke's attacks. Then Noctis would use his Ring of Lucii to try and drain Sasuke while at the same time powering himself up, but this will be hard to do since Sasuke has a complete speed edge. This will force Noctis into a game of teleportation where both characters try to out-teleport each other, Since Noctis is more efficient, he'll eventually win that small but important game. His most critical move will be using Stop Cast to freeze and slow down time. Once time is frozen, Noctis can open Alterna and banish Sasuke there. Once Sasuke is banished, sure he isn't technically dead, but winning via BFR doesn't require death. As long as the opponent is banished for more than 2 months or passed out in a coma for more than 2 months, it would have counted as a victory in the short-term fight. Remember, this is not a fight to the absolute death. There's a different show for that. This is a battle to see who would win in a short-term fight, who is the better fighter, regardless if the outcome is a coma, death, or battlefield removal. Noctis just has better hexes and BFR abilities that will eventually give him the win, making the winner of this Rumble, Noctis. Now, I would offer a rematch, but honestly, I don't want to see Sasuke return anytime soon. Let's give the poor man a rest, maybe at least a 6-month break, possibly longer. Maybe he eventually comes back and fights Hiei, maybe he comes back and fights Sans and Spider-Man, but for now, I don't want to see him fight anyone. What I do want to do is give you guys something even more interesting, but first make sure you comment down your own ideas that don't include Sasuke. But back to the interesting thing, I'm going to announce one character, but for the next 3 Rewind Rumbles in no specific orders. So you're going to get 3 character announcements for 3 different episodes. And to find out who all their opponents are, all you would have to do is join the Cartoon Fight Club Amino group linked down below. Tomorrow I will release the opponent for one of the fighters on Amino. The day after that I'll release the second one, and on the third day, which would be Saturday, August 18th, you'll find out who all 3 matchups are, but the episode order will still be a surprise. On the next episode of Rewind Rumble.